Hi, so my name is Julian Linger. I'm 28 years old, or young. I'm a young entrepreneur based in Switzerland, in a very small town, only 4K people living there. I come from there originally, but now I live in Biel. It's a little bit bigger. It's kind of a city, like 50K people, and I work in Zurich, obviously, for the startup Relai, which is the easiest Bitcoin app in the world, made in Switzerland. That's kind of our goal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of this company.
And do you want to tell your personal Bitcoin story? So how did you get involved in Bitcoin and how did that lead you to Relay?
Of course. So in 2015, that was when I was in my early 20s. I was still studying and I was hanging around with a friend. I was like always more the business guy, so I was interested in finance and stock trading and investing and stuff like that, but not in technology. I was not in technology at all. But my friend at the time, which still is a friend, was deep like into technical stuff, study computer science and experiment a lot with technologies and stuff. So at one point he introduced me to Bitcoin and all these other coins that are floating around, like this magic internet money world. And I was very intrigued. I thought it was very interesting, but I didn't really understand like the impact it would have on the world back then. But I thought it was interesting to kind of trade and send money around that is not controlled by governments or banks, just over the internet, to exchange value over the internet. I think was very interesting concept. So I bought through him, because for me it was kind of too complicated. Through him, I bought my first Bitcoin for like $500, sold it again for like $550 to make a 10% return on the investment. I thought I was the most smart investor of all times. But obviously then later I kind of noticed that there's a bigger thing behind it. There's a huge development going on there and very disruptive for the traditional financial system. And so in beginning of 2017, when I really understood that, I then invested more of my time and money into it. And so beginning of 2018, then also decided I want to be professionally involved in this space. So founded my first company, which is Bravis. It's a small consulting company where we advised financial service providers like banks and asset managers on Bitcoin and also, crypto, blockchain stuff. We also had or still have a education like training course for bankers in Switzerland, one of the biggest in Switzerland, where we train bankers about Bitcoin and blockchain, crypto finance and stuff. It's called Certified Crypto Finance Expert. But now, obviously, since end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I'm actually full on into Relai. As said, the world's easiest Bitcoin investing app made in Switzerland that we are trying to build. And I'm the co-founder and CEO there. And so most of my time now is into that. And certainly more than 100% of my time is going into Bitcoin now.
Excellent. Yeah, I feel you there. So was the company and have you always been Bitcoin only? It seems like you're very Bitcoin focused.
Well, right now we are very, very Bitcoin focused and Bitcoin only for sure, but that wasn't quite always the case. So at the very beginning, we were kind of still open for other things. We also didn't really have the experience and network so far to fully understand like the whole Bitcoin versus crypto narrative. And in the very early team, there was also one or two guys who were big into Ethereum and like other coins. And also we had, from our first test users, we had some demand also for other coins, which would, by the way, still have. But at the beginning, we thought like, oh, let's just do whatever our users or potential users want, right? But to reduce complexity and to have focus, and we already then thought like Bitcoin is certainly the best value preserving asset of all of them. We would start with Bitcoin only. So we went to the market, and then the solution of the app was very well received by the Bitcoin maximalist community, basically. And then we were eating a lot of shit when we talked about other crypto stuff, and kind of also learned a lot from this community, and only when we launched really understood like the impact it would have if we were to add other coins. And so we really bought into this Bitcoin only narrative ever since. So we are and will always be Bitcoin only, because now we kind of fully understood that this is the only long-term savings technology out there, whereas all the other coins or tokens or whatever, they're basically short-term gambling stuff, and that's not what we want to be involved in. We want to be a long-term savings app, and that's why we are and stay Bitcoin only.
Yeah, that's such a relief. It's so nice to hear, and it's something you don't hear enough. I think in the media, especially, people tend to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency interchangeably. And it's been like a real uphill battle that I think will win itself, showing people just the fundamentally different nature of these two asset classes. So would you say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but a lot of Bitcoiners or people who hold Bitcoin think that there is not a competing market for Bitcoin. Like there will not be a second Bitcoin. There will not be something like Bitcoin that can compete with it. There are a competing set of speculative sort of securities, cryptocurrencies, and then there's Bitcoin. So could you speak to some of those differences maybe?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think, like, not anymore. I mean, at the very beginning, maybe there was some competition for Bitcoin, but not anymore. I think now, since it's really the only one with a plus 10-year track record and being really the one with the most security, the most hash power, the most decentralized setup and community, I don't think there is a way how you can compete in the kind of sound money, digital gold, long-term savings technology narrative anymore. Like if you look at stocks, bonds, real estate, all the traditional assets, they're obviously all of them are based on fiat currency, and that obviously is not decentralized, can be debased, is not very secure, and all that kind of stuff. So mostly the debasement, the money printing, and and so that kind of quality that it can't be debased and it cannot be controlled by any central party. That's what makes it unique, makes it censorship resistant and all that, and fixed in supply and all that kind of stuff. So that not by traditional assets that are based on the fiat system, and also not by all the other cryptocurrencies, altcoins, shitcoins, or whatever, that are basically controlled by any sort of central decision makers, teams, leadership figures, whatever. That can't be copied or challenged anymore by any other asset, I believe.
So there's a fundamental, at least I see there being a fundamental guarantee of property rights in Bitcoin that basically nothing else offers. I mean, even buying actual property like land doesn't give you this guarantee, because it is also taxed and debased and can be ultimately confiscated.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like seems like a really important mission then, if we can agree on that everyone in the world now just needs to have access to this because they need something to store their wealth in long term.
Exactly. They want to have access, but they also need to understand. So I think these two things go together. Obviously, we want to give everybody access, but only if there's an access. Only the access alone is not enough if no one kind of understands why this is important. And so that, I think, our mission is kind of the two of them. So the easy app is basically is just the easy access that we want to give, but then all the education material that we are doing, like our blog posts, our social media engagement, our podcast that we are releasing regularly and stuff like that, is the events that we are speaking and the podcast we are in as a guest and stuff like that, is and the support we are giving to other content creators like YouTubers, bloggers, podcasters, and so forth, is these two things are basically go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think about competition within the Bitcoin market? You know, what does this competition mean for your company and also for Bitcoin as a whole?
Yeah, that's very interesting, man. I think it's different than in the traditional quote unquote startup land. Obviously, startups in the same industry, they have a fierce competition. Everybody tries to get the best talent and the most capital, venture capital, and then destroy the others, basically destroying the incumbents, but also destroy the competition, the other startups. I feel like in Bitcoin, even though you compete for a piece of the pie, everybody is kind of in it for the same mission. So I don't really see any traditional competition. I mean, even though in Switzerland, for example, we have Bitcoin Swiss AG, which is kind of the biggest player. We have BT, which is also our partner, but also our competitor. And then globally, or like in Europe, you have Bitpanda and all these big exchanges and other apps like Swissborg that are very, or Bitwala that are very close to us. Or then globally, obviously, in the US, you have Swan Bitcoin, you have Strike and all that kind of stuff. We don't really see them as competitors. We actually see them as co-pilots, like flying this rocket and trying to navigate it to the moon, basically. And everybody here is working to build up the Bitcoin ecosystem, and everybody takes his part. And I think the pie is big enough so that we don't have to compete, at least not yet, probably also not in the next decade. We don't have to compete against each other. We just have to work closely together to make it bigger, because everyone has his piece of this pie, and if we all work on making it bigger, then we will all be successful and we will all thrive. So obviously we need to think about strategies, how we fit into this, and that involves thinking about and observing the other participants in the market, quote unquote competitors. But then we are not thinking about strategies how we can kind of compete with them or destroy them. We just try to find our niche that it makes sense in the bigger picture.
And what does your biggest hope for Relai and Bitcoin in general become then? If you found your niche and you're a growing company, what do you look forward to?
So my biggest hope is that we get as close as possible to our vision, that is bringing some Bitcoin into everyone's pocket. So I hope that we actually become that easy and that visible in the world, that everyone from the small kid in kindergarten up until the old grandparents can and will invest at least part of their wealth in Bitcoin, so they can hold it for the long term and for preserving the wealth of generations. And therefore, not only this will not only be advantageous for themselves as individuals, but also for the whole society, and obviously therefore then also for our business. So I think, you know, these all go hand in hand. I think if we achieve this vision, and this will obviously be good for our business, because we will grow and make revenue and thrive and be more valuable. So like these kind of business metrics, but it will also mean that Bitcoin kind of went viral throughout the whole world and did its thing. Just preserves value of our generation.
So are you very concerned with the US dollar price, or the euro or the Swiss price of Bitcoin, or do you denominate like your final value in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Me personally, I'm not very concerned. I just try to get more Bitcoin. And so I just keep stacking sats, and obviously want the number go up more in terms of number of my Bitcoin or sats holdings go up, because but I see that for most people they still measure their wealth in USD or similar fiat currencies, and so that's why I think it still is and will be in the near future still, be an important number, like how much the Bitcoin actually are worth, and there will be still be ups and downs in these metrics. But in the end, the metric, as we kind of as the Bitcoin community is probably aware of, is fundamentally flawed, because you're measuring, if you are measuring in the metric of USD, you're measuring in something that is ever expanding, and so obviously the number is kind of going up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the value is also really going up. So what you measure with a flaw metric. If you measure something with feet, or do you guys have feet, or we have meters and centimeters, whatever, then this is a metric that is always stays the same. So you can say 10 centimeters is double than 5 centimeters, but in USD is expanding at a rate of 5 to 6% per year right now. So you can't really measure stuff. You can't say this house was 500,000 20 years ago and now it's 1 million. Well, actually, probably the value is exactly the same. The price is just higher because what you measure it in has expanded. So I think for now, this will still kind of become, or still kind of stay, the measurement system. And so people will still be concerned for a couple of more years about the dollar price, but the relevance of it is decreasing. And I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, probably people will more and more start thinking in Bitcoin, or probably in sats more. And that's also the natural way how things go with an emergent store of value, right? It was the same with gold. It was a store of value first, and then a medium of exchange, and then a unit of account. There's almost no way how this can go the other way around. This is kind of a natural way this develops, and now we are at the first stage of it becoming a really, really good store of value, and more people notice that. And so now we're kind of transitioning in the next couple of years, it being as an accepted medium of exchange, and at one point it will be the unit of account without bigger needs of any other according fiat currencies.
Right. It sounds kind of like trite and general, but it's really true. Like Bitcoin is the denominator. Because it is terminally scarce, it is a way more sophisticated instrument for measuring anything economically than dollars or all fiat currencies, which are all subject to go up forever. So I'm pretty excited about this, because it seems like when people do start to use Bitcoin as their unit of account, like just anecdotally, I don't really see them switching back. I mean, I don't know anyone that's understood it as a unit of account that changed their mind. I'm going to go back to dollars. Like, it doesn't really happen like that.
Right. Doesn't really make sense in hindsight.
No. Yeah, man. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your exchange. I hope it comes to the US someday so I can try it. Yeah, get some non-custodial Bitcoin. The easiest Bitcoin app in the world.
There we go. Yeah, we have a long way to go. So right now we're only in Europe. You guys have other cool players though, like Swan Bitcoin is very cool, and they're doing a very, very good job. Pretty similar than we do in Europe. They are doing in the States. So but yeah, at one point we might talk to them and not compete, but partner up with them and come to the US. Why not?
Yeah, actually, the one. Have you looked at Amber out of Australia at all?
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, they're going instead of buy the dip, they're implementing buy the Schiff, which is you automatically purchase Bitcoin every time Peter Schiff tweets something negative about it.
I think that has proven to be a very good strategy.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
Yes.